I'm Emily Kaufman, the Travel Mom, and it's time for another Travel Talk. Food and travel go hand in hand, and I look forward to experiencing new restaurants every time I travel. I'm so excited today that I have a guest that does just that. I'm excited to be welcoming the host of Restaurants on the Edge, Dennis Prescott. Hey, Dennis.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Where are you?
I am in Moncton, New Brunswick, which is on the east coast of Canada. It is where all the lobster comes from. It's very beautiful and very remote.
So you're a chef. Tell us a little bit about Restaurants on the Edge.
Yeah, so I'm a chef. I've cooked for a number of years, and I've always loved travel and food. And I've been a big believer of the joy of traveling to eat and going to these locations that are so exciting and full of inspiration, and you just fall in love with the cuisine. And as a byproduct of that, you meet incredible people. You go to the market, you go to great restaurants, and you just dive into culture. And then, much to my surprise, I was approached to do this show. And I've worked in and out of this world for a number of years, but you never think that you're going to do a Netflix show, of course, because that's just such an honor. And then we not only got to do one, but we're on our second season. And the whole idea of Restaurants on the Edge essentially is the most beautiful locations in the world typically have a restaurant. Typically, it's a tourist place, because people want to see these beautiful locations. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, when you go to these restaurants, the food is catered to the tourists and not to locals, and then they struggle. The last thing that I want to do is go to Hong Kong and eat a burger. I love burgers. I would eat them any day of the week, but I don't want to go to Hong Kong and eat a burger. I want to eat local food, and I want it to taste delicious. And a big part of our show is igniting inspiration, joy, happiness. It's all a positivity-driven show, and really trying to breathe new life both into the restaurant and the restaurant owners. And of course, because it's a travel and food show, we get to go to some of the most beautiful places in the world, and I go through some of the craziest adventures in the world, both from a food and just a life perspective, really just trying to tell a really great positive story.
So season 2 is just getting started on Netflix. Where are some of the places you visited in season 2?
So with season 2, we went to, in North America, we went to Arizona and St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. We went to Slovenia, to Finland. We went to Hawaii, and then a couple locations in Canada, one on the west coast of Canada and one in northern Ontario.
I am looking so forward to seeing that because, like I said at the beginning, food and travel go hand in hand for me, and it's one of my favorite parts about taking trips. So while it's fun to travel all around the world and try different cuisine, there really truly is no place like home. And you're going to share a recipe with us that's really near and dear to your heart because it comes from home. Tell us about it.
Definitely. So when I grew up, I love my mom. she's incredible. My parents actually live in Beijing and moved there a number of years ago, so I don't get to see her very often. The one thing, I was a musician for years, and before I became a chef, I learned how to cook in Nashville. And the thing that I always wanted when I came home from being on the road for a month, 2 months, whatever it was, is my mom's chocolate chip cookies. They were the thing that reminded me of being a kid. And for me, the best food in the world is nostalgia driven. It reminds you of being with your friends, with your family when you're 10 and eating your grandma, your mom's food. And for me, it was my mom's chocolate chip cookies. They, at the end of the day, cookies to me are a great thing, especially in this season that we're in right now. So many people are in lockdown, and so many people are having a challenge getting ingredients at the grocery store. It's not like it used to be. The great thing about making cookies is honestly a little bit of flour. We've got a couple different kinds of sugar here. We've got chocolate chips, butter, an egg, some salt on top of that, and then really just a method, and you can end up with the most kind of crunchy on the outside, perfect, soft as a pillow on the inside cookie that makes you happy. And I think we're all right now in this season where we want a little bit of happiness centered around mealtime. They're a nice little treat as well. So like I said, it's a nostalgia driven thing. Basically, you're putting this all together. The two things that you want to remember with cookies, the biggest thing is popping them in the freezer first, because that cools the dough down. It'll make sure that the cookies rise properly, but they don't burn, they don't overcook. And then you want to take them out of the oven just before they're done. But you don't want them to be done, because when you cook something, when you take it out of the oven, the residual heat of that food continues to cook. That's why, chicken is 165 degrees. We might take that out of the oven at 160, 155. We want it to rise up to temperature on the counter. So then it's cooked perfectly. It's juicy. It's awesome. Cookies are the same way. You want to take them out when they're not quite yet done. And then when you do, you end up with these soft, beautiful, perfect cookies that are so just cooked through to perfection on the inside, but they've still got that nice crunchy base on the outside.
I feel like this is a little unfair to be showing these cookies and breaking them in half while I'm on the other side of the continent and I can't enjoy them. Can you quickly run through the ingredients and the measurements that you use for your mom's chocolate chip cookies?
Absolutely. You want an egg, free range is best as always. You want about a cup of flour. We've got half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a cup of brown sugar, a quarter cup of white granulated sugar, 1 stick of butter. I always say about a half a cup of butter when I'm in Canada, but in America, it goes by sticks, and I always forget that. And then a lot of chocolate chips. My mom's secret to her cookies is she basically doubles the chocolate chip amount to what other people would have. And I loved that as a kid, because why not add more chocolate in your life? So we've got 2 full cups of chocolate chips in here. And if you want to finish that off with a little bit of flaked sea salt, that just takes your cookie to the next level. As soon as they come out of the oven, when they're still hot, hit them with that salt. It adds a beautiful texture as well to the outside. But chocolate and salt are best friends. If you go to France as well, there's always salt in the chocolate. We don't typically do that in North America, but it's really delicious.
So I love the tip about popping them in the freezer first. I also have a question about butter. Are you supposed to soften butter before you prepare something like this with it, or use it cold?
Best case scenario, you have it softened. So what I like to do is I take it out, put it on the counter an hour, maybe 2 before, if you have the time, if you think ahead. It will just make sure that it creams a lot easier with the sugar itself. You can do it cold in a pinch. I mean, you can use a lot of hacks, that's for sure, in the kitchen. But best case scenario, it's already softened.
Well, I follow you on Instagram. You've got so many beautiful photographs of food on there. If people want to learn more about you and learn more about the show, where can they find you?
Yeah, on Instagram, at Dennis the Prescott, basically everywhere on the internet. The show, first season of Restaurants on the Edge is on Netflix now. Second season comes out on May the 8th, and that will be available all over the world. So, anyone who has access to Netflix, and the beauty of 2020 is you can even watch it on your phone. On May the 8th, watch the Restaurants on the Edge season 2. I know you're going to love it because the stories are just so full of joy and inspiration and deliciousness.
Well, I look forward to when the time is right, you and I being in the same place at the same time and sharing a meal together. Thanks for sharing your travels with us. Thanks for sharing your mom's chocolate chip recipe with us.
Of course, yeah. And I'll make sure to bring cookies when we meet.
I'm holding you to that. Thanks.
Thank you.